Good morning. I'm Reverend Michelle Scott Huffman. My pronouns are she, her. I am a middle-aged, pale woman with probably large, dark circles around my eyes, short, spiky hair, black pants, and a maroon shirt. Go Bears. I want to start this morning with a deeply personal disclosure. One of the wedding vows that I made to my wife was that I would try as often and as hard as possible to make sure that she gets the best of me and not just what's left of me. I try and as hard and as often as possible to make that true in all of my work and interactions. Yesterday, we experienced a tragedy at the Multicultural House with the death of one of our residents. And I spent the day dealing with and processing that tragedy. And today I want to say openly and honestly that you're getting what's left of me. And I think it's important to say that to remind us all, and perhaps me most importantly, that there's a human standing in this pulpit. That being said, will you take a breath with me? Thank you. If my day yesterday had not taken such a drastic turn, I would have likely posted on Facebook a picture of my very young-looking self in an army dress green uniform with some words about the complexity of military service through the lens of my own 17-year experience. For the last several years, I've just shared the same message that I wrote back in 2019 because I can't come up with more words. And I'd like to share a piece of it with you today in honor of Veterans Day, which was yesterday. So here goes. Military service is always a mixed bag and has the potential to draw out from us the brightest and darkest parts of our humanity. For the opportunities, the growth, the camaraderie, and the people who step up every day to put their lives on the lines for others, known and unknown, I give thanks. For a world where peace is elusive, justice often comes at high costs, and war wins out over diplomacy, I lament. For those who gave all of themselves, never getting to experience life after service, my gratitude and sorrow is beyond words. For every person who has ever put on the uniform, for all that it has given you and all that it has taken from you, I pray your peace, your healing, and your wholeness. Thank you to all who have served. May we all honor that service by working tirelessly for a world where peace reigns and we finally shut down the war machine. For any and all who have served, we wish you a blessed day after Veterans Day. Speaking of blessings, the words that we are using in the 11:15 service are from Rebecca Ann Parker for the opening words, and she talks about blessing the world. I have to admit, I almost wrote it off as a candidate for an opening reading for that service, partially because it starts out with the language of blessings and curses. And I've spent a lot of time in Christian circles. I've heard a lot of really careless theology around the idea of divine blessing and curse. But Parker's words put the power of blessing and cursing in human hands, in our mouths, in our actions, and then dares to suggest that we can make a conscious choice to engage in generosity to bless the world. She writes, "You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, and a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide." A wise friend once said to me, you know, Michelle, love is a choice. And those words have always haunted me a little bit. But they've also colored my imagination of what's possible, both in my personal life and in our shared public life. In fact, the work that has been done by the UUA Article 2 Study Commission and the revision to part of our bylaws that help us better articulate both to ourselves and to the world who we are as UUs places love right at the center of all of the values that guide us, signifying that to choose love is to strengthen our choice to lean into justice, interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, and yes, generosity. In a 2018 white paper prepared for the John Templeton Foundation by the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, entitled The Science of Generosity, Dr. Summer Allen writes, generosity comes in many forms, from the charitable donations to formal volunteering, to helping a stranger, to caring for a spouse or a child. What these and other examples have in common is that they involve giving good things to others freely and abundantly. I know a number of people who have recently gotten tattoos that say do good recklessly. And I'm scared to death of getting a tattoo, but I think I would approve of getting that one if I could be guaranteed that it were painless. The definition of generosity, according to the University of Notre Dame Science of Generosity Project, talks about giving to others freely and abundantly, but also names that when people are generous, and sometimes even animals, they prioritize the needs of others, and often they prioritize those needs above their own. The definition of generosity being used by the folks at Notre Dame is the virtue of giving good things to others freely and abundantly. What exactly generosity gives can be various things: money, possessions, time, attention, aid, encouragement, emotional availability, and more. A point made in the activity that we just did. So if generosity is giving good things to others freely and abundantly, it requires a conscious choice to reject some of the frameworks that we are offered in this world. One of those frameworks is scarcity. The idea that there's just not enough and we have to fight against other people to get what we need, in most cases, is just not true. The other thing that we have to reject is this very American ideal of rugged individualism. Right. We really can't make it on our own. We really didn't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We really are not self-made. We need each other. And generosity is the value that lives inside us that allows us to reject those other frameworks and to connect with people. So in current UU principle parlance, it requires an acknowledgement of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, our first principle, a commitment to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, our second principle, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, our seventh principle. In our updated Article 2 language, our practice of the shared value of generosity means we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, our presence, and our resources. And our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. So returning to those words from Rebecca Parker that I started with, she captures that spirit of gratitude and hope when she says it is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. Ultimately, we choose generosity because we believe fundamentally that a better world is possible and that the work of making it so is ours to do. And perhaps the reason that most of us are here this morning is because we believe that the work is ours to do in community, and that our support of one another, our learning from those who came before us, our deep listening to those who are impacted by the challenges around which we hope to effect change, these things all have an impact on our own words, behaviors, and choices. But it's also important to note that the individual choice for generosity doesn't just impact the one making the choice and the immediate beneficiary, but that through the power of social networks, choosing generosity ripples out into the subsequent choices of other members of a social network. In a study report entitled Cooperative Behavior Cascades in Human Social Networks, James H. Fowler and Nicholas Christakis of UC San Diego and Harvard Medical School, the researchers note, in the particular case of cooperation or altruistic behavior, it is well known that one person's altruism toward another can elicit reciprocal altruism in repeated paired interactions and also in groups. Indeed, many individuals are conditional cooperators who give more if others give more, and who are influenced in their interactions with others by what others are doing during the interaction. A.J. Fox, our director of religious education, often says to us, everything we do is faith formation. Everything we teach is Unitarian Universalism. The congregation is the curriculum. Knowing that humans in community are conditional cooperators offers just one more example of the ways that this faith formation mantra shows up in our shared life together. Over the next several weeks, we'll be talking a lot about generosity, and we'll have many invitations to choose and then practice generosity both individually and together. The hope is that through choosing and practicing generosity, we might just bring ourselves closer to the full realization of what Rebecca Parker wrote one more time, that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. May it be so. And may we be intentional agents of that beauty and grace and with and for one another. Blessed be, and amen.